Hi, and welcome to River Talk. It is Wednesday, November 28th, 2018, and today's topic is abortion and contraceptives. I'm Eliza Mussman. I'm going to be moderating, and I'll let everybody introduce themselves.
I'm Brody.
I'm Ian.
I'm Nicole.
All right, so we're going to start off with discussing whether there are other preventative measures that could be taken instead of going to abortion, and what other options there are for society. Anybody want to go first?
Yeah, I just want to say that a box of 36 condoms costs $12, which is 33 cents a condom. And plus, I know they're free at this college specifically, and that the age range for most likely to become pregnant and unwanted is 20 to 24, which would be that college range.
Is there anything
I feel like preventative measures such as condoms need to be handed out in our society more liberally so that people have them when they need them. So like just in bathrooms and
I know that the bathrooms, they do have for like 25 cents in some places, but they should either, they probably need to be in more bathrooms, but something that could prevent that, like businesses I know for sure, like I work at Quick Star, and they don't sell condoms at all. You know, they have them in bathrooms, they don't support that at all. That's
I was
actually
gonna say also in bars, like just like the waste of it might be an issue, like people might not dispose them properly, that sort of thing.
How big of a problem is that though? Is it currently a problem? Because
don't
I
know
personally have never seen a condom outside the ones I've used.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
You didn't go to Clinton School, did you?
That's not
yeah.
I guess.
I've seen one in my yard before, so
In your yard?
yeah,
Do
when
you-
I was a little kid. So
Well, and I know, interjecting a little bit, in some areas, flushing them is a problem. It causes issues with plumbing because people aren't educated on how to dispose of them properly, so they flush them down the toilet. So that can be an issue.
aren't educated or choose not to.
that's something you can like teach in school though.
Yeah, if we're allowed.
If you're allowed.
We're allowed to be taught in school.
All right, let's move on to whether or not abortion is just a female issue or if the father of the child should be involved in the decision as well.
Well, there is a saying, it takes two to tango. So I just want to throw that out there. Like, you can't just get pregnant by sitting in a room by yourself. It needs to be a man and a woman together, or some sort of transfer of a sperm and an egg combined to a zygote.
I'm gonna say it really depends on the relationship of the two people. That's why when people have a one-night stand, like I was a product of a one-night stand. So like when people have a one-night stand, you need to come up with, you need to explore all your possibilities, like that there could be a child or there could not be a child, and what you're going to do if there is a child, because otherwise, you don't know. And if both people are on the same page of the relationship, it all comes down to communication and how well do you know this person, and should you really be, doing that with this person without talking about the possible outcomes? Because it's a serious thing when you produce another life into the world, because then other services like child services can get involved and that sort of thing.
And then also, should it be something that's just like a social norm that the father of the child should be involved, or should there be some kind of law? And if there should be some kind of law involved, could the possible effects of that be? Like if there's an abusive relationship or something like that, could somebody take advantage of laws putting that out there and then result in furthering an abusive relationship? What could the effects of that be?
I mean, just you saying that, like if we know that these things could happen, we would just have to put other laws in place to prevent that from happening. It's saying that, like you said, like a one-night stand type situation. So are you saying that the man shouldn't be responsible for that child, or that the man should be responsible for that
The man
child?
should be, however, in some cases, in some states, they don't enforce child support. Like when I was born, they didn't enforce child support,
In the state?
and no, and that was in Wisconsin.
Okay.
I think now they might, but
Yeah,
it's like one of those things where it's a relationship situation. It's very socially involved.
Mhm.
So when you have that kind of thing happen, especially if it's just one time, you have to go ahead and just make sure that you know all your outcomes of what will happen after that's done.
I think the end decision should be on the female about whether or not she wants to have the abortion or not. The female is the one who's going to be growing the kid and birthing it and feeding it. They have the brunt of the responsibility. I feel like they should be the one to make the final decision.
I think a big thing is also men need to learn how to respect women a lot more when you have like situations like bars and stuff, like when you have hookups and stuff like that. Women need to be respected in that situation.
In what sense?
In a sense that they're treated like a human being.
Are we talking about flirting in a bar, or like the guy approaching them, or are we talking about like
Yeah.
a man?
I feel like we're getting a little bit
Yeah,
off topic
that's what I was
here,
gonna say.
so
Like,
I'm
I don't
just
know how
gonna
to
like,
deal with
I'm
it.
just
Respecting
gonna.
the woman will more likely have a more beneficial situation for the man in the relationship. When
All right.
But if it's a
We're
one-night
gonna-
stand,
We're gonna move on
yeah, I know.
to, okay, so we're
Can I
gonna
bring it back to preventative measures, actually?
Sure,
Because
go ahead.
if we put preventative measures in bars where these things happen, then that would decrease their chance of happening,
Like-
right?
There you go.
Like how we have in bathrooms at this college, there's just bowls of condoms.
Yep,
Maybe at a bar,
and they're funny
Just
too.
have them on the desk. Or
maybe
whatever.
have them by the door.
Exactly.
Like I know at certain restaurants they have like lollipops in the bowl. You can give to your kids. It's like, all right, these are adults. Let's give them condoms. They can take it home with them.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the other thing though, what about a kid interaction with condoms?
Well,
I
yeah,
don't
in
think
a
it should
bar.
be wrong. Well,
Yeah.
First of all, why is there a kid in a bar? Second of all, I don't think that there's anything wrong if it's long as it's not like ew,
Oh, I thought you were
dirty
still
condom
talking
on your
about
yard.
schools. I thought you were still
We're talking about bars.
schools.
Yeah.
But also, I don't think there should be anything wrong with, I mean, obviously if they're like toddlers. But if
Well-
you're like a older child and you come across a condom, I don't think it should be like a big deal
Yeah.
thing.
And the fact that we stigmatize sex and like
That's
part of the
relationships-
problem.
Yeah, you think about like way back, like over 200,000 years ago, humans on the savannah. You really think that the kids were shielded from these adult humans having sex?
Oh, no.
No,
I don't
like,
think so. But there's
I-
also been kids that have been married at 12, so.
well, yeah, but I
That's an
mean,
entirely different issue
yeah,
as
that's.
well. All right,
Totally
so
different.
let's move on to contraceptives, and should businesses or insurance companies be required to cover those? Just in general, like, if you need birth control, should your insurance or your company's insurance cover that?
Are we saying like the government requires them to do that, or are they saying like they?
Like
the
an
business have
actual requirement that they have to cover that for women who want it? At least to an extent.
Okay, so they would have to cover women's contraceptives and birth control, correct? Is that-
As in, like, they should, okay, as in, like, insurance companies, whether it's, like, your own personal insurance company or whether it's through your work or whatever like that, certain types of businesses and stuff like that, they should be required to cover birth control for their female employees.
It really depends on, like, if they pay, well, if they're an employee, they're paying into their health care, so it really depends on, like, the contract between the employee and the employer and how much you're going to pay in for your
So
contraceptives.
basically, if you get insurance through your work, like both of my parents get insurance through their work, if you're already getting the insurance, should insurance be provided for that type of health care?
I think it should be an option and people should be able to choose whether or not they want
As in like businesses should be able to choose whether or
No,
not?
as in like, if you.
Well,
it
not
should
as
be
in like
offered.
women are forced to get birth
It
control.
should, I think it should be offered, but people, ultimately the employee can choose whether or not.
See, that's what I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. that's-
Well, the person who would not be getting the choice here would be the company offering the insurance. So the
I
insurance has to cover.
think I have a solution to this. We don't make corporations or businesses who have a vested interest in eking out as much profit as possible be responsible for our healthcare.
So like no healthcare
No
should be
healthcare.
covered from businesses?
No, it should be the government doing that.
Okay.
I think it should be a choice, but people should have to pay in, like, if there's a demand for people to pay in, it should be included in the premium that they take out of your check for healthcare.
Yeah, because I mean, healthcare is always an option with the company. So are you saying like they should just take it out entirely? Because the way
Well-
that healthcare generally works with a company is you pay into the insurance
Yeah.
and it's optional.
Yeah.
You can choose to pay into it, and
You
then
still get
you
it.
get healthcare in return. So you just think that shouldn't
Yeah,
be
it
an
shouldn't.
option?
Well, I mean, it's a more philosophical thing. I personally don't think that healthcare should be in the private sector at all. But by forcing these companies to do this, and if we give them the option to say no to certain aspects of healthcare, like
Mhm.
contraceptives, how is that fair to the person underneath of them that's receiving the healthcare?
All right. And then moving on from that, just in general, is it okay for contraceptive just being considered as healthcare? Like,
Yes.
not like insurance. There's a lot of insurance companies who try to deny people contraceptives because of.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you have a baby, you're gonna have healthcare for that,
Well,
so.
what's the argument against it? I actually don't know.
Like that insurance companies shouldn't have to cover contraceptives because insurance companies shouldn't be involved in whether or not you want a baby. But for a lot of women, contraceptives aren't used as birth control. They're used for other aspects of
I
their
mean,
health.
like healthcare. Like, how is having a child and all these things deal with your body not part of healthcare?
I don't know. I've just okay.
This one, I wish we had a more conservative person here. That's
Yeah.
why telling me, because I actually am at a loss.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've heard stuff about it, but I don't know what the arguments are precisely because usually I tune them out. But generally, like, they'll argue of like
It's not a good thing.
I know. Like, argument that since contraceptives are to keep you from having a baby,
Mhm.
that's your business, and therefore insurance shouldn't have to pay for that.
It's also a business to tell whether or not I have cancer, but it doesn't mean it's not a part of healthcare.
Yeah. Okay, so it seems like we'll agree on that one, so let's move on. And should religious freedoms be able to overcome individual freedoms with, like, should an insurance company that's religious-based be able to tell somebody who needs a contraceptive for a health reason that they can't have it?
No.
No, because it's really not everybody's religious.
I mean, if
first off, in
it's-
this day and age.
If it's your only option to have from a company, no, they shouldn't be able to deny you because it's your individual freedom. But like I said, that's the problem with having these places that provide you with like really important things like the health insurance,
Mhm.
putting them in the private sector because these individuals at the top can basically like, let's say you have that health insurance that's a religious based one through your work,
Mm-hmm.
they can deny you certain individual liberties
Yeah.
based on what they believe.
Kind of like somebody who is a part of a religion that doesn't allow like shots and doctor's appointments, and
Yeah.
it's saying you can't have that because they don't believe in that.
Yeah.
Right. The problem with religious freedoms is that not everybody takes those religious freedoms.
Mm-hmm.
And so religious freedoms and individual freedoms can clash.
Yeah. All right, so let's go into heartbeat laws, which are like a new thing that are becoming popular for states where you can have an abortion up until a heartbeat is detected, which would be somewhere around 6 weeks into a pregnancy, and whether or not that's an acceptable law or whether it should be longer or what they should do about that.
I mean, a person who was just recently decapitated can still have their heart beating. Doesn't mean they're alive. But it also comes down to what you define as what is living and what is not. I mean, if your definition of living is like it has a heartbeat, then yeah, okay. But if your definition of what is living is like more literal, like biological definition is can it live outside the body and on its own, maintaining homeostasis and all those things, then no, it's not alive, so that law
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
But there's an argument, if it's going to become a person, should we stop that process? Like, should it not have, like, let's say I go into a coma for 4 weeks, but in 4 weeks I'll become myself again. Should I be able to be killed without, like, consequence?
Yeah, it's not the same because you have a host, like you are still like not able to independently be like,
Yeah, exactly.
apart from another
Exactly.
person.
Yeah, that's what I mean, like, and plus I have all these experiences and.
With, the
I will be able
coma,
to live.
you've made connections to other people, like a 6-week-old fetus hasn't made any connections to any.
Well, then there's the argument of most women don't even know they're pregnant until after 6 weeks in, because most of the symptoms don't appear until
Yeah.
about the 6-week mark.
So let's
we
say,
need more pregnancy testing available.
Well, some people don't even know that they need a pregnancy
Yeah,
test.
exactly.
Like,
That's a
people
longer
don't always
time.
know, like, if someone's on birth control and they also used a condom, they're not expecting to end up
Probably-
pregnant.
Probably need more education regardless of if you're protected or not to test.
well, the thing is like, what are some of the signs that you could detect a pregnancy?
Usually the first sign is morning sickness, general, like, discomfort as a human being.
I mean, some of those things, couldn't those be attributed to stress?
Yeah, that's
And
the
so,
problem.
exactly, and if you're on birth control and you use a condom, unless you only have sex like once every 2 weeks, I mean, you're not gonna even think about getting pregnant, and if you're in college, which is like 20 to 24 is the demographic that's gonna be in college, that's most likely to have an unwanted pregnancy, you're not gonna have any idea that you're pregnant because you'll chalk it up to stress, especially if you've had those symptoms before because of stress.
Yeah, that's the other, like, or just general sickness. Like, if somebody gets pregnant and there's like a stomach bug going around, they're not
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
think they're pregnant, they're gonna think they've got a stomach bug.
So could we maybe increase the time to like maybe just the entirety of the first trimester?
See, that would be the argument of whether or not a heartbeat law is fair or not, because of, by the end of the first trimester, it's really hard to not know
Yeah.
whether or not you're pregnant, because there's more definite signs showing,
Also, the goal of a heartbeat law is to stop abortion.
just in general.
Because that they know that at that time, like, they're not gonna live to the end
Yeah.
of pregnancy, so they make it illegal after that time. And also, I don't wanna backtrack a little bit, but, so you said that a thing that doesn't have any experience or any attachment, what about in, like, 8 months in to the pregnancy?
Well, see, then they'd be able to survive outside the womb more than
That's true.
likely. So when you come to that,
But, yeah.
so then it comes down to, like, when would it be acceptable to prevent pregnancy except in extreme circumstances? Like, obviously, 6
Like
weeks with the heartbeat law, that isn't fair. So at what point in a pregnancy is it no longer acceptable to terminate the pregnancy?
That's after you know the gender.
Have you know the gender? Anybody else?
What week is that?
It's like after
it's-
5 months.
Yeah, it's somewhere in, towards the end of the second trimester, I think.
Up until that
Beginning of
point,
the
is
third.
when you would say?
Yeah, because then you'd know the gender and you'd be able to pick out a name and people would start to get more comfortable with the idea that you're
Most people
attached.
that I've heard things from say the end of the second trimester is where you can't anymore unless it's for a health risk. So would it be acceptable to have an abortion after that point for anything other than a health risk? Like, continuing the pregnancy could kill you. Would that be
I
acceptable?
think that it really depends on the person's situation, like if they're financially like not able to take care of the kid, or if like they know the kid's gonna be like, there's so many kids in foster care like already, like it really just depends on
But
the
shouldn't you have
person's
that figured
situation.
out by the time you get to the third trimester?
Well, yeah, that's what I mean though, like as far as like terminating, so you should have that figured out before the second trimester so that like when the baby's gender does come, you already have known whether or not you're going to keep the baby.
What's the earliest that a child has ever been born and lived?
Generally they don't survive if it's before the third trimester.
Yeah.
but I've heard of people surviving right at the beginning of the third trimester, but it's rare. Generally, you don't survive unless you're 7 months in or more. There are some rare cases of people surviving before that, but. All right, so let's move on to the last thing on the list, which is it okay to teach abstinence-only education in schools? Can they teach about the option of abortion? Can they teach about contraceptives?
I
Is it
think
okay to
that's
teach about those
high
things?
school level thing.
Public schooling should never, they should not be allowed to teach only abstinence. I think doing that is not only harmful, but the thing they're trying to prevent, is gonna happen more.
Mhm.
Then, yeah.
The more people know about how these things happen, the less likely, the more they'll know how to control it.
Yeah.
If we give them the options to control it, then they probably will control it because they know how to.
Yeah, it's like emotional versus intellectual thinking. Like, you're gonna, if you don't know how to if you don't have any education on the subject, you're just gonna really go on instinct, and instinct doesn't
Natural instinct, yeah.
yeah, condoms aren't a part of that. Birth control isn't. Any sort of preventative measures.
All right. Anybody have final statements they want to make before we wrap up?
I think that also a woman should also respect if the man wants to be a part of the kid's life.
All right.
Mutually.
Ian, got anything? Got anything?
Safe, legal, and rare.
All right.
Okay.
See you next time.